Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. As always, I'm Bryson Carver. We've got a great Friday show for you guys today. We're nearing Thanksgiving, people. 2 weeks away. It's crazy. We're in Week 10 of the National Football League season in 2021. I'm going to do what I do every Friday show. I'm going to predict all of Sunday's action. 12 games that will be played on Sunday in the National Football League. There's some crazy lines. It was really tough to find if I were a Bettin Man. But I think I've narrowed in on one, and I'll get to that obviously later in the show, as well as my ups of the week and my other picks from there. I'll also briefly talk about the whole John Gruden situation, which we got some more out of that. He won't go away. Adam Schefter's got the latest on that. Going to react to that in about 10 minutes or so. But I'm going to start the show by talking about the Miami Dolphins and the Baltimore Ravens last night. Miami won their second straight game of the season, first winning streak they've had this season. They're 3-7, not going to make the playoffs, obviously. As crowded as the AFC is, there's teams that are not in the playoff chase that are 5-4. I mean, unless some of those teams just absolutely collapse, Miami's not making a playoff run. But I will say this. I did pick Baltimore to win before the game last night, obviously. I picked them 34-27, so that was off for a multitude of reasons. One, I got the score wrong. B, the team didn't cover, and C, the team lost. But the reason I had Baltimore not covering the spread, and the reason I thought Miami would keep it close, and ultimately last night, it was the reason Miami won. It was Baltimore's secondary. And this is what's going to get them in trouble come playoff time. Like, they still can very much win the division. They're still 6-3. They're up in the division over Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. But because of the injuries that they suffered in the preseason, Marcus Peters, etc., this secondary, I mean, I always say, you can say next man up, but eventually there's only so many men you got. And the Ravens are starting, just guys out there. And this is against Jacoby Brissett. And eventually, after Jacoby Brissett got hurt, Tua. Normally quarterbacks that don't push the ball over the top. But last night they did. It was two big plays in that game that, to me, were the difference. It was the long ball on that last Miami drive before halftime. It was 3-3. They had the ball like their own 9-yard line with 51 seconds left. I'm thinking, okay, let's see what Miami does. Maybe they try and get a first down. If nothing happens, they try and bleed the clock out. But figuring like, hey, points are going to be hard to come by in this game anyway. Let's go for it. And Brian Flores is a go-for-it guy. He's an aggressive coach. He's proven that, 3 years in Miami. And the fact that people, by the way, said that he's in the hot seat, I think is absolutely absurd. I think it'd be just a horrendous move for the Dolphins to fire Brian Flores. I think that'd be what he's done for that culture has been, outstanding. But to me, two plays in that game. It was the long ball. Who was it to? I'm trying to get that here. It was I forgot the kid's name. It was a good outside receiver. 11 yards. Oh, it was nope. Can't find it. Oh, it was a 21-yard bomb, right? Yeah, it was a 21-yard bomb. It was the offensive holding. And so Miami, or defensive holding, Miami was able to get into field goal range, kick the field goal, go up 6-3. And then I think it was a 64-yard bomb from Tua that got, after Baltimore scored a touchdown, made it a one-score game, 15-10. And you're like, oh, okay, hey, defense played well all night. As Lamar Jackson pointed out after the game last night, he's like, hey, defense gave us a chance. And ultimately, it was the secondary for the Ravens that got him beat. But I know a lot of people, it's always, this is how it goes with players that fans or the media either like or don't like. If Lamar Jackson on Sunday leads yet another comeback, this time against the Minnesota Vikings, plays outstanding as he normally does, it's crickets. Nobody's saying anything about Lamar Jackson. But if he plays the way he did last night, which was pretty bad, they scored 10 points. Lamar Jackson did not play well. It's like, yep, see, you can't win with that guy. No, it's just a bad game. People saying, oh, is Lamar Jackson had the MVP discussion? I'm like, no, of course he's not. Because every other guy in the MVP conversation, they've all had a bad game. Tom Brady, yeah, he threw for a lot of yards against the Saints. He had like 4 turnovers. Okay, in my view, Tom Brady did not play well enough to win that game, and I love Tom. Tom's the GOAT. He's one of my favorite players. But he didn't play well against the Saints in the Buccaneers' last game. Dak Prescott just on Sunday against Denver. He was terrible. He had like 70-something yards passing going in the fourth quarter. He was awful. He had a turnover. He was off all day. Justin Herbert has had 2 bad games against New England and against Baltimore. Who else is in the MVP? Derrick Henry's hurt. I thought Derrick Henry was in the discussion for a while. But now if this becomes a trend for Lamar Jackson, if he continues to play bad, which I don't anticipate happening, okay, you've got an argument. But to say, he's out of the MVP discussions. Like, what? Matthew Stafford. You see Matthew Stafford against the Titans on Sunday? Can we forget how he played against the Cardinals a month ago? I mean, I know that's a great Cardinals defense, but if you're the MVP, right? So that's the thing. Like I said, every contending team has had a bad game this season. Every single one. Outside of Arizona. Arizona's one loss was, I wouldn't say fluky, but they very, very easily, if AJ Green turns around, they win that game. Literally, if the dude turns around, catches a pass, the Cardinals are undefeated at 9-0. So that's what you got to look at. But at the end of the day, it's not a loss that makes me concerned about the Ravens. As John Harbaugh said, after the game, like, look, I didn't have us ready to go. It's a short week. It's at Miami. It's one of those situations where, hey, we're enjoying the weather in Miami. Right, I think Joe Buck said last night there was like an 86% humidity. It might as well have been September. Whereas the Ravens, a cold weather team, are used to playing in, at least this time of year, chilly at best conditions, if not cold in some cases. You know, Baltimore's a cold city, cold part of the country. So that can factor maybe. Like we forget about the mental aspects of the game, and we forget everybody's a pro. Miami, yeah, they're 1-7. A lot of these guys were on the team last year that nearly made the playoffs at 10-6 with a back and forth at quarterback between Fitzpatrick and Tua. So everybody's a pro. Everybody has a bad game. Even the great teams do. And I don't look at the Baltimore Ravens any different after last night. They play poorly. Happens. Even with the beat-up secondary, it was 2 plays that were the difference. Aside from 2 plays, I thought the Ravens defense played one of the best games they have all season. Ravens offense, on the other hand, were bad. I mean, Justin Tucker even missed a kick. You got days in the NFL, and in this case, nights in the NFL. You can tell pretty early, it's just not our day. Happens in all sports. You can tell, if you get no hit through 5 innings, you're like, it's not our day. It's not our day, right? If you're missing shots, if you're a great 3-point shooting team in the NBA, and you're clanking threes and you turn the ball over, it's like, man, it's one of them days, one of them nights. And that was what that was for the Ravens last night. So I'm not concerned at all. It happens, even to the contenders. You move on. As Bill Belichick said, on to Cincinnati, or in the Ravens' case, on to Chicago. They'll crush the Bears. All right, let's talk briefly. I wasn't even going to discuss this until I saw, or I didn't even plan to discuss anything of this nature until Adam Schefter reported that John Gruden is going to sue the NFL and Roger Goodell. This is really funny. According to his attorney, Adam Hosmer-Henner, released this statement, quote, John Gruden has filed suit against the National Football League and Commissioner Goodell in the 8th Judicial District Court in Clark County, Nevada. The complaint alleges that the defendants selectively leaked Gruden's private correspondence to the Wall Street Journal and New York Times in order to harm Gruden's reputation and force him out of his job. There is no explanation or justification for why Gruden's emails were the only ones made public out of the 650,000 emails collected in the NFL's investigation of the Washington football team, or for why the emails were held for months before being released in the middle of the Raiders' season. In response, the NFL spokesperson announced that the allegations are entirely meritless, and the NFL will vigorously defend against these claims. So there's the legal stuff for you guys on this Friday evening. Listen, like I said, anytime something legal comes about in the NFL, and they're usually about 2 or 3 times a year it does, whether it's with a crime, whether it's with somebody saying the NFL did them dirty in some way, shape, or form, usually comes about every 2 to 3 times a year. Like for Deshaun Watson, for example. Like I've kind of said, hey, I don't know. I don't think anybody, the only people who do know what happened or did or didn't happen is Deshaun Watson and the women. That's it. I mean, I don't think the attorneys know. I don't think anybody knows except that group of people. In this case, what I think is really funny is that John Gruden is mad about the fact that his actions were leaked to the New York Times and to the Wall Street Journal, and that they were the only emails released. And my thing is, the investigation is still ongoing. But when the NFL we heard, we talked about on the show a month ago when the story first broke. All we knew at the time was that John Gruden had made racial comments towards DeMaurice Smith. And we're hearing from the NFL spokesperson. I think it was the same guy. I'm trying to remember his name. It's not coming to me at this moment in time. But he was saying, you wait till y'all see this. Like, this is bad. And we learned some of the stuff where we're like, dang, John Gruden feels that way about that group. I mean, John Gruden really attacked every single group of people except for like any religious group. Like that was the only one that was exempt, pretty much. I mean, he attacked the LGBTQ plus community. He attacked black people. He attacked the commissioner. He went after everybody in these emails. Not to mention, he sent pornographic images to the Washington football team. I think it was Bruce Smith, if I'm not mistaken, who was with Washington at the time. It's like, this guy can't run a football team. He can't be the face of an organization, especially making the amount of money that he was making. And it's like I've heard this phrase before, is that you have a freedom of choice, and we talk about right with the vaccine and everything. You got a freedom of choice. John Gruden technically can type these words that he typed. There is no freedom of consequence, though. You have a freedom of choice, not a freedom of consequence. By the way, I did not make that up. I actually got that from Marcellus Wiley on FS1. Got to give credit where credit's due. Freedom of choice, but you do not have a freedom of consequence. And that's the harsh lesson that John Gruden is learning right now, is that you can't just go around saying stuff and think you're going to get away with it. It always comes to light. And what the NFL saw here is, yeah, we can't have this guy, because eventually it is going to get leaked, and then the NFL takes the backlash. Like, wait, you knew about this and let him coach? You knew what he said, and you allowed him to continue to coach the Las Vegas Raiders. That's what the NFL was looking at from their perspective. We're going to know a lot more about the Washington football team in the future, but the investigation is not concluded. That's the big thing. But what the NFL saw is, these are bad. These are really, he can't coach in this league anymore. And so we're going to learn more about Washington and their albatross of an organization, Dan Snyder, who I think is one of the worst owners in sports for a multitude of reasons. But you got all these allegations and things of that nature. And the NFL's like, okay, we can't have two things on one. We can't have the Washington controversy and then, oh, you knew that John Gruden sent these emails and you still allowed him to coach. And then the players find out like, dang, he really feels that way? So I think it's funny that he's suing the NFL for this. It's kind of funny to me. All right, let's talk about some NFL predictions. It is week 10. We are over halfway through the regular season, which is crazy. I'm trying to wrap my brain around that. But it's week 10 in the NFL. Let's get the predictions started. We got my upset of the week. We got my if I were a betting man. We got a lot to talk about in regards to week 10. There's some really, really, really interesting games this weekend. So let's get the music started. And let's start with the Dallas Cowboys, my Dallas Cowboys, hosting the Atlanta Falcons. Now, of course, this is the first time these two teams have played since one of the most bizarre games that I have ever seen in my life. Last year, week 2, we all remember Dallas down huge. They're turning the ball over. Atlanta, I think, became the first team in history to score like 39 points and not turn the ball over. It's like, how does that even happen? Turn 39 points, not turn the ball over, and still lose. And it all came down to an onside kick, the watermelon kick, as we call it. I call it the helicopter kick because that's what it looked like. And Atlanta chooses not to recover the football, even though they could. Dallas waited for it to go 10 yards. They jump on it. It's the craziest special teams play I think I've ever seen. And then Dallas won the game on a game-winning field goal off the foot of Greg Zuerlein. As it stands right now, the line is pretty big. Vegas really likes Dallas in this game, -9. They like them -10 or 10.5 against the Broncos. They've got it to about -9 after the Cowboys got walloped by the Broncos. So let's put up my prediction right now. I think it's a fairly close game, but Dallas pulls away in the fourth quarter. I think the Cowboys win this game 35-21. So they do cover the spread, not by a whole lot. But I do think it's a fairly close game for a while. Listen, Atlanta's offense is outstanding. I mean, it is outstanding. You know, Matt Ryan and Kyle Pitts has lived up to the hype. Of course, they're not going to have Calvin Ridley, but they do have Russell Gage. They do have Cordero Patterson. Shout out to him out of the University of Tennessee. You know, obviously, he's one of the best gadget guys in the league. And I'm hearing a lot about A.J. Terrell, the cornerback out of Clemson, who's playing great football right now. Well, the problem is, sure, maybe he can lock down Amari Cooper or CeeDee Lamb. Well, Michael Gallup's coming back. And what are you going to do about Cedric Wilson? What are you going to do about Dalton Schultz, Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott? Dallas wins this game 35-21. John says, let's go Jets. We'll get to your Jets, trust me. Let's go to the New Orleans Saints going on the road to take on the Tennessee Titans. This is probably, in my view, the second best 1 o'clock game, Eastern, 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific time, on, I believe it's CBS. Yes, CBS. As it stands right now, it's a pick'em game. They got Tennessee -3, and Tennessee is at home. Obviously, the home team gets 3 points. That we know how that goes. So they're saying, hey, pick'em. There's a lot going on with this game. But when I look at it, Alvin Kamara is out. He's out with an injury. Derrick Henry's also out, so probably the premier offensive players that we thought would be in this game before the season started, unfortunately, they will both miss. Derrick Henry's out for a while. We don't know the extent of Alvin Kamara's injury. So it's Trevor Siemian against Ryan Tannehill. That's really what the game is going to come down to, and I certainly trust Ryan Tannehill more, but I think the Saints are going to come in. Tough loss against Atlanta on the road, especially after the way Tennessee, they're feeling great about themselves. Maybe they look at this as somewhat of a letdown game, right? So like, man, the Saints got beat at home by Atlanta. We went on the road to LA and beat the Rams at full strength. I'm calling upset. It's not my upset of the week, but I'm going to take the Saints to win this game. We've seen crazier guys in week 9. Week 9 was crazy. It kind of continued last night. Hopefully it doesn't continue over the weekend. But 28-24 is my score. I think it's a back and forth game. Very well could be the best game of the day. But I think Sean Payton, what he wants to do is put Trevor Siemian in positions where he can't mess it up. That's tough. It's not like the situations he put Jameis in, or even a Phillip Rivers, if that were to come about possibly. Phillip's interesting going to the Saints. But I'm gonna take the Saints to win this game and upset, because I still don't know about Ryan Tannehill. I like him. I don't love him. And Sean Payton, Mike Vrabel might be the best coaching matchup we have in the NFL on Sunday. Let's go to one I don't want to spend too much time on because it involves a very bad team. The Jacksonville Jaguars going on the road to take on the Colts. Jacksonville, rightfully so, is favored -10.5. Of course, Vegas loves they love Indianapolis. They should. Put up the score right now. I got the Colts winning this one easily, 31-13. Everybody's freaking out about Jacksonville's win over Buffalo. They scored 9 points. Okay, Buffalo's offense was just atrocious, and Josh Allen, no, not the quarterback, the linebacker, Josh Allen, who played at the University of Kentucky, plays for the Jacksonville Jaguars, had the game of his life, played unbelievable, and Josh Allen gave Josh Allen big issues. So I think the Colts offensive line is going to key in on him. Frank Reich, to me, is one of the most underrated coaches in the sport. And so I'm going to take the Colts to win this game fairly easily, 31-13, albeit over a division rival. Let's go to the best 1 o'clock game of the day without a question, because, man, the storylines that are going to come out on Monday, regardless of the outcome. The Cleveland Browns going to New England to take on the Patriots, who unbelievably, if I'm not mistaken, have won one home game. That's it. One. And it was against the Jets. Okay? New England's not been good at home. Their one win is against John, and Alfred, all my buddies' lowly Jets. They're hosting Cleveland. And as it stands right now, New England is favored -2.5. So they're starting to lean towards Cleveland here, despite the news came in a couple hours ago. Nick Chubb is out. Nick Chubb will not play against the Patriots due to COVID. He is vaccinated, but he didn't quite meet the timeline to be able to play on Sunday afternoon in Foxborough. And so Everybody's freaking out about New England. They have one quality win all season. One. That's against the Chargers. And that was the defense. And I've said this all season. That New England defense, it's no joke. Matthew Judon has been one of the best free agent signings without a doubt. I mean, Belichick had a home run on him. Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, Kendrick Bourne. What have they done? The big free agent signings that the Patriots and their fans were going crazy about been average. Now, why is that? Well, they play dependent positions. And that quarterback, I told you, I don't trust him. I don't trust either quarterback in this game for that matter. Y'all know what I think about Baker Mayfield. I think he's a competent quarterback. I think he's a starting quarterback. I think Mac Jones is the backup. So what it ultimately comes down to is I trust the Browns running game. And the Ernest Johnson will start at running back for the Browns. He had 100 yards against the Broncos. Okay, the Dallas Cowboys, who have a great rushing offense, couldn't do anything against Denver. Ernest Johnson ran for almost 150 yards and a touchdown against that same Broncos team. So I think it's going to be somewhat low scoring, but I will take the Browns to win this game 24-20. Mac Jones will make some bad throws. And this is a Browns defense, an opportunistic Browns defense. Denzel Ward and all those guys. You saw what they did to Joe Burrow last week. And Joe Burrow is a much better quarterback than Mac Jones. So I think the Browns go on the road. They win their second straight road game, and they go to 6-4. 24-20, Cleveland. All right, John, I'm talking about your Jets now. They're hosting the Buffalo Bills, and the Bills on the road. Coming off a loss to the Jaguars. Are favored minus 12.5. Let's go and put up the score. They cover. Buffalo wins at 34-16. I always had the belief that if a really good team, if not a great team, a Super Bowl contending team, which I still believe the Bills are, come off an embarrassing loss, oftentimes if you look at history the very next week, they play their best game of the season. Oftentimes it comes down to good coaching, which Sean McDermott absolutely is one of the best head coaches in football. Robert Saleh, I liked him. I think the Jets maybe have found their coach. Mike White, by the way, will start. Mike White had the greatest game of his life against the Bengals last week, or a couple weeks ago, excuse me. But despite the Jets being at home, I don't think it's going to matter. Bills win this one easily, 34-16. Let's go to another game I don't want to spend too much time on because it involves arguably the worst team in football. The Detroit Lions and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Put up the score right now. Steelers win this game 29-16. Pittsburgh is favored. What's the line? Pittsburgh is favored in this game at minus 8, which I think is being generous. What they're saying is that they don't trust Big Ben. I mean, this is a great Steelers roster. Excellent receivers, even without Juju Smith-Schuster, who's out for the year. It's a great defense. TJ Watt is once again in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. He's going to give Jared Goff all kinds of issues. And sorry to continue to beat the dead horse, but after Sunday, Jared Goff will be 0-16 without the likes of Sean McVay. Detroit Lions, a thing or two about 0-16. Steelers win this game 29-16. Let's go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going on the road to take on the Washington football team. Both teams are coming off a bye, and both teams are coming off of a loss. Washington lost on the road in Denver. Tampa Bay lost on the road in New Orleans. Both teams are well coached. Excuse me. Love Ron Rivera. Really like Bruce Arians. No risk it, no biscuit, as they say in Tampa Bay, Florida. But this is a bad situation for Washington. Yes, they're coming off a bye. They're darn sure not going to win their division. Dallas is up on them a million games, so that's not going to happen. And so you got Tampa coming off of a tough division loss against the Saints, who for whatever reason seem to have their number. And Tom Brady off a bye. Well, he's going to be ready to go. And so with that said, I think they barely cover the spread, but they win this game. They control it from start to finish. The Buccaneers beat Washington 31-21 in a rematch of the wild card game in which Tampa won, obviously, as well, on their way to a Super Bowl 55 championship. Let's go to the Carolina Panthers taking on the Arizona Cardinals, the 8-1 Arizona Cardinals, best record in the NFL. No, Cam Newton will not play quite yet. That's unrealistic to think. You sign him on Thursday, he starts on Sunday. It's going to be P.J. Walker. We don't know right now if Cam Newton is going to start. We don't know. But, he's not start. Excuse me, if Cam Newton's even going to dress. But P.J. Walker's going to start. He's a really cool story. Played in the XFL. The Panthers gave him a chance. He played at times last year. He was fine. And he's played in mop-up duty when Sam Darnold's either gotten hurt or played like complete trash. And so this is a bad matchup for Carolina. Backup quarterback going into Arizona. We don't know the availability of Kyler Murray, but I think in this game, I don't think it's going to matter that much. So I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals to win this game 27-19. They're favored minus 10.5. I think it's a little much. I don't think they cover, but I do think they win this game 27-19. The Cardinals win it. Continue the afternoon slate of games. You got the Philadelphia Eagles going on the road to take on the Denver Broncos. Denver's obviously coming off of a huge win last week against my Cowboys. Dominant win. And then you got the Philadelphia Eagles, who have played a lot of close games against really good teams. They lost close to the Chargers. Earlier, they lost close to the Buccaneers. You know, Philadelphia, to their credit, they've hung in some of these games. And so, on the road, I'm going to take the Eagles to win it. I think it's close, but I think Philadelphia wins this game 26-24. 26-24. The Eagles win it. Let's go to now. Let's see. Was that the upset of the week? No. Yes, it was. Upset of the week. Eagles beat the Denver Broncos. Albeit the line is minus 1.5. That's my upset of the week. Eagles beat the Broncos. Let's go to now my favorite segment, the new segment we debuted this year.
Bettin Man.
If I were a betting man, I'm looking at the Packers hosting the Seattle Seahawks. The line is minus 3.5 in favor of Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers, as it stands right now, is going to play. He has been cleared to play, or the Packers at least expect him to be cleared to play, but Jordan Love is prepared just in case. He has gotten the snaps with the ones, but guess who's back to the Seattle Seahawks? Russell Wilson. In Russ we trust, as they say in the Pacific Northwest. I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks, not only to, if the Packers do not cover the spread, I think the Seahawks win it. Outright. 24-21 Seattle, because look, here's the thing. Y'all saw Dak Prescott on short week of practice. You saw short week, or not short week of practice, but really not much game action. But in 3 weeks, he didn't look so good. Y'all saw Dak didn't look so great. Aaron Rodgers now coming off COVID, and obviously we hope he's recovered even despite the vaccine stuff. We don't wish harm upon anybody, of course, with when they have the virus. But Aaron Rodgers coming off of COVID, listen, I've had COVID. It does some weird things to you. So yes, Russ is coming off an injury, but you've seen Russ in those pre-games. He's working out. He's running sprints. He's doing footwork exercises. Like, Russ has stayed ready. He's done every workout you can possibly do that has not involved his thumb. Well, now he can absolutely use his thumb. He can throw the football. He can do it at a high level. He'll do it at a high enough level to keep Seattle's hopes alive, to keep them just above water, and they'll win this game over the Packers on CBS 24-21. And the final game of the day, I can't wait for this one. The Kansas City Chiefs going on the road to take on the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday Night Football, a AFC West matchup. The Chiefs are favored minus 2.5 in this game, which is kind of surprising, even despite the Raiders' tough loss against the Giants last week. Giants, by the way, are on a bye. I had to think about this one. But ultimately, what it came down to is that who's more desperate? And oftentimes, that's what wins these big division games. You got the Raiders at 5-3. You got the Chiefs at 5-4. Right? The winner jumps the other. The winner jumps the other. By the way, my bad. Let's go backwards. I skipped a game. Vikings Chargers. I am so sorry about that. Vikings Chargers in LA. I'll get back to Kansas City in Las Vegas in a second. My bad, y'all. Excuse me. Vikings hosting or going to LA to take on the Chargers. They are saying it's a pick'em game. LA is favored -3. Pick'em game. Chargers have had virtually no home field advantage all year. I don't know how well Minnesota fans travel. I know how well Raiders fans and Cowboys fans have traveled, and they've made their presence felt in SoFi Stadium without a question. Browns fans even. So whether Vikings fans travel or not, I don't know if it'll make a huge difference, but I'm going to take the Chargers to win this game 30-27. Chargers win 30-27. They don't cover the spread. I think back-to-back weeks they win on a game-winning field goal. That's what I'm going to say. Chargers win back-to-back weeks on a game-winning field goal. Close game. Minnesota's played a lot of them this year. They played one against the Vikings and the Cowboys and the Panthers and the Cardinals. In those 4 games I just mentioned, they're 1-4. Cincinnati went to overtime. So Minnesota's really an almost team this year. If they win 4 of those, hey, they're right in the thick of it against Green Bay for the division. The problem is this is a quarterback you can't really trust. This is a defense that is up and down at times. So I got the Chargers with the quarterback I trust more winning this game. All right, back to Kansas City and back to the Las Vegas Raiders. Division matchup. Oftentimes, unless there's like a massive gap in talent, like, for example, the Colts and the Jaguars or the Bills and the Jets, something of that nature, usually these games are fairly close, and it's ultimately a matter of who wants it more. And these two teams want to, Vegas wants to stay atop Kansas City, and Kansas City wants to jump Vegas. So I think it's close. I think there's going to be some points. I don't trust either defense, but bold prediction right here. Sunday night will be the game that the Chiefs take off. They'll win close, but they'll win 30-28. Kansas City wins 30-28 over the Las Vegas Raiders. Because look, maybe it was the John Gruden syndrome, and we'll find that out as November goes by and as we go into the month of December. Maybe it was the John Gruden syndrome that was the reason the Raiders had so many collapses when they were right in the thick of the playoff chase. But Kansas City, they know they need this one, man, because you don't want to drop to 5-5. Because, look, the winner of Cleveland and New England is going to be right in the 7th seed in the AFC. Like, Kansas City wants to get themselves into at least the playoff conversation as one of the top 7 teams in the AFC. And so I think they come out the more desperate team. I trust Andy Reid more than I do Rich Bisaccia. No disrespect to him. I know he's never been a head coach, and I think that's what's going to be the difference. So Andy Reid comes in with a great game plan against a Raiders defense I don't trust. Albeit I say the same about Kansas City, but Patrick Mahomes, I think he's going to do his thing on Sunday night against the Raiders. He often does. Chiefs win 30-28 in what is probably one of the better games of Sunday. So there you go. Week 10. Got one more game that will be played on Monday night, another division matchup between the Rams and the 49ers. I'm going to save my prediction for Monday's show, but there's going to be a lot to talk about. No question about it. Lots going to be talked about on Monday's show. I can't wait for it. A lot of football, college, pro. Is there some big games in college? I think there are. Obviously, the rankings came out, and I talked about those. Obviously, the number 1 team in America comes to Knoxville, Tennessee to play my Vols, and I wish I could say I was confident, but I'd be lying. I would be lying. Georgia on the road's favored -20. Alabama, number 2 Alabama. I don't think I've ever seen a spread like this before. Alabama's hosting New Mexico State. You want to know what the line for that game is? Just take a guess. I'll give you a second. All right. Alabama over New Mexico State is favored -51.5. And Alabama hasn't even been playing great as of late. I mean, LSU, who I didn't like going into the season at all, and see what's going to happen. They're going to fire Orgeron at season's end. Alabama hasn't even been playing great football as of late. That tells you how bad New Mexico State is. That's not even a shot at Bam either. Michigan, Penn State, I think is going to be closer than people think. Oklahoma, Baylor is a very big game. Baylor's out of the playoff chase, but Oklahoma needs a good quality win on their resume to try and give themselves a shot to get into the playoff, especially being the number 8 ranked team, even with an undefeated record. What else we got here? Purdue, Ohio State. I think Purdue's days of upsets in 2021 have come to an end. I think Ohio State will win comfortably. The line is -21.5. I agree with that. Texas A&M, Ole Miss is going to be an interesting one. NC State, Wake Forest. So, hey, there's some good ones. There's some good games on Saturday afternoon and Saturday nights. And then you obviously got all the huge games in the NFL on Sunday. Also, too, my Warriors up there, got the hat back there. Golden State, 10-1, takes on the 8-3 Chicago Bulls. Probably one of the better games that we're going to see in this early NBA season, at least before my Warriors take on the Nets on Tuesday night. That's going to be a fun one. KD versus Steph, absolutely sign me up. Get your popcorn ready for that. But Golden State and Chicago tonight. Milwaukee hosts Boston. Does Milwaukee host Boston or they go to Boston? I think they go to Boston. So it's gonna be a fun night of NBA basketball, fun weekend of football, and I can't wait to talk about it all on Monday. And so with that, that is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by and watching the show or listening to the show, wherever you may be listening. Be sure to catch us on Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. If you're on YouTube, be sure to click that big red subscribe button and like, comment, share. It helps the channel grow exponentially. So see y'all on Monday. Stay safe out there. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy what you're going to do. God bless you all. Peace out.